Hey everybody, welcome back to Chris Anderson Comics. I'm super lucky today to have on as a very special guest, Tony McMillen. How you doing, man?
I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Artist, writer, artist, creator of such books as Lumen and Serious Creatures, which I friggin' love.
Thanks, man.
We're here today. You also write prose, so you have
Yeah,
some novels out too.
I got some word books.
Um, yeah, we'll put some links to all those fun things in the show notes. But today we're here to talk about Attaboy. This is the Bounce House publication version of Attaboy, but there's some really great news on the horizon. You want to share it with people?
Yeah, I'm going mainstream. I got my major label debut. Attaboy is going to be reprinted by Mad Cave Studios. It's going to be basically the same book. I think I added four commas and two sound effects, and that's it. It's the same book. Um,
Sweet.
yeah, I'm really excited. It's going to be hopefully in stores everywhere, and people who seek it out will find it. And I'm really hoping that a lot more people come check out the book. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, I hope so too. I really love this book.
Thank you.
Can I ask you real quick? Bounce House. What's I love the logo. I love it. Why Bounce House?
Oh, I basically I noticed like people who do their own little like vanity indie labels or
Hmm.
they always have something that's too it it pigeonholed you into one genre like this is called Hatchet Axe Comics or whatever, and I was like, I just want something that sounds fun and all encompassing. And I was like, oh, I love bounce houses. And also the word house kind of makes you think of it is a house of ideas or something like that. And I love bounce houses,
Yeah.
so jumping castles. And I literally found online a good bounce house, and I redrew a silhouette, and I was like, perfect, love it, it's done.
And they can be terrifying if the wind picks up and takes it up into this atmosphere.
That's
Um,
100% true.
my wife and I both used to work at a preschool for a long time, and we had a carnival one time, and the breaker blew, the fuse blew, and the thing started going like this on her, just collapsing. And she was trying to throw kids out, and but she couldn't like move. It was like eating her. So it's a
That's never
lot of things a bounce house can be.
Yeah, it's never occurred to me. That sounds pretty terrifying.
Yeah. Um, so Attaboy. We'll get into it, but let's just take a look at this cover real quick. So your style, you use sort of a chisel pen for all of your work or
Oh,
most of your work.
almost all of it, really. Yeah.
Yeah,
Every once in a while, there would be some fine detail. I'll just pull something else that's a little smaller, or sometimes for some touch-ups, I'll use the Procreate pencil to fix a face a little bit or something that's off.
sure.
But it's almost all Pilot Parallel pen, which is my chisel tip, which I
Yeah.
fell in love with, like, I don't know, almost 10 years ago now.
Yeah, there's a few artists that I know that use a chisel pen like almost exclusively, and everybody has a completely different style. It's really pretty cool to see. You lean into the dry brush part of it too, which I love. You know.
Yeah, I love the result, and I like it keeps me loose, and I think a lot of great mistakes happen, and every once in a while some bad mistakes, but I kind of
They're
roll
not
with it.
mistakes.
Yeah,
It's just what it's telling you to do.
yeah,
You know, your palette too, your color palette when in this thing is going to be very much primary colors.
yeah. All my projects, I have a pretty limited palette, just because I think there's less room for mistakes, or it also it breeds creativity, and I kind of like that. But
Hmm.
so I do color digitally, but I try to
Yeah.
make it as analog looking as I can. And so
Hmm.
I use a lot of crayon digital brushes and a lot of watercolor digital brushes.
Yeah, I can see the watercolor here. The watercolor digital brushes are pretty amazing now in some of the programs where they kind of bleed into each other even, and they don't like maintain the same shape, which I
Yeah,
love.
yeah. I was really kind of, when I started doing it, I was like, oh wow, this is pretty close to what watercolor looks like when I mess with it.
Yeah, except for, it's not completely permanent.
Yeah, exactly.
um yeah, and you do throw in some tones too. I take it those are digital, right?
Yeah, I think so. This book I made this almost 4 years ago.
Hmm.
Now I still do some digital tones, but I have been messing around with real tones,
Yeah.
and they're really fun. The one thing is I do draw fairly fast, and I get kind of impatient, and so tones you kind of have to slow down and figure out what you're doing. So that's been an adjustment.
You're putting real tones on the physical paper.
Sometimes now, yeah.
Yeah, you're brave, man.
Well, that's the thing is
Um,
I really have to go like I think this is it.
I do it for commissions,
Right.
because it's so damn expensive.
Yeah.
You know, I had a friend go to Japan for her honeymoon, and it was like, as long as you're there, I
You
know
can
you
just
don't know anything about screen tones, but if you happen to find yourself in an art store, can you bring me? She brought me back this stack of the weirdest shit because she doesn't know what she's picking out,
sure.
you know. And I hang on to that stuff like it's gold. But I did do high resolution scans of everything, so now I just use the scans, and I still cut it out, you know,
Right.
obviously. But I, you know, if I'm doing something for print, I do it that way.
So
But
my in my mind, if you go to Japan, the airport has Zipatone, like you just hand it to
yeah,
them.
I
Like that's what.
think so. Apparently, she found it right away. I mean,
So,
yeah, that's just how I imagine it too. Awesome. Okay, so let's get into this. So, first of all, well, not first of all, like I said, first of all in the beginning. So, ATTA triangles. You love triangles.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Um,
it's I don't know why I love them.
I predict that you're going to say something about how you love triangles in the next episode as well.
Probably soon. Probably soon.
Because we recorded the second episode first. So this is kind of a love letter to video games in a way. Attaboy is a game, as you can see, with Game Over, and you started out in this really cool way. So you say, there's a video game from when I was a kid that no one seems to remember. Attaboy. I think that is the best nostalgic moments I find in my 40 some years, is when something pops up and it sort of makes you start to do a little tick of, oh yeah, something that I like had when I was a kid. I remember it this way, but nobody else remembers it that way, or your memory has turned it into something else. So, for example, like I remember seeing Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas when I was a kid, right? And it was probably on once,
Right.
because you had to be in front of the TV when things were on. It's just the way it was. There was no VHS tape of Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas that I knew of.
Right.
And there was a song in it, and in my head, like it was stuck in my head until probably I was 30 years old, and went into a Barnes and Noble, and they had a DVD copy of Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, and I brought it home and I put it on, and I was so excited, and the song was like similar to what I remember, but not as good. It was
Right.
good because what's his name? Paul Williams, did all the music for Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. So of course it's gonna be great. But the music what I remember in my head was even better. But there's always these things like, did I actually remember that? And I love how this starts up, because there are other things like that in my life where I'm like, did I imagine that, or was that something that I actually saw or knew about when I was a kid?
I've been exposed and called out. Like, I remember I had some memory. I was telling my sister, and she's like, "Dude, that was an episode of The Wonder Years." I was like, "No, it's not." And then she showed me. I was like, "Oh my god, that didn't happen." She said, "No, no, it didn't."
Oh man, that's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough. Um, so this is the box of a Bounce House Gaming Attaboy.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are too old to know what Nintendo games looked like when you bought them at the store, or too young to know what the original NES boxes looked like, they were just like a long box of Kraft macaroni and cheese, and you
I was gonna
opened
say,
it up.
look,
And
pancake mix is like a little,
yeah. Yeah. And you open it up and you got your big ass cartridge out. So this is really cool.
Oh, thanks.
Um, and so you go in. So this was the game system, also a triangle.
Yeah. I was like, I think there's a theme here, so I'm just gonna keep drawing this shape.
I really love it.
Oh, thanks.
What's the title of the game system
So
about?
Hallucinari is basically one of my prose novels, the one I did before this, an augmented fourth. Hallucinari is actually like the root word for hallucination. And so I
Ah,
had this the Hotel Lucinari, and I was like, oh no, the Lucinari is like the Illuminati is nothing. That's like the Bellinati. The real one is the Lucinari. I had this whole thing, so I kept on putting it. The Lucinari, they have video game systems. They make jacuzzis. They're in charge of hotels. They're in charge of everything. So that's like a little Easter egg for my people.
awesome. That's really cool. So you get in and you start showing like how the video game works, and anybody who's played, Super Mario Brothers or anything like that will know immediately that this
I
is, a shot from the game.
Right, and it's basically as a kid, I really did love a lot of video game manuals. They had original artwork and they had little bits of story, and it was really I always thought there was kind of like untapped potential in that I'm not gonna say art form per se, but like that presentation. So I was like, I always had in the back of my mind, like, oh, I should make a comic book that's a video game manual, and couldn't crack the Konami code for it for many years, and then eventually. Attaboy kind of started coming together. I was like, "Oh, this is what I'll do." And when I finally get to draw these pages, like, "Oh, finally, I get to draw my guide." Because as a kid, I used to make up video games in my head and draw out the
Yeah.
stages and draw out like controls and stuff. So I basically have been doing this kind of for a long time, like since I was like 10 or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I, the first time that like character design or thinking about character design as a kid really hit me was when I had an issue of Nintendo Power magazine, and there was like apparently there had been in previous issues a call out for people to like design their like their dream video game and come up with characters and blah 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 blah. And the issue that I had the winner of it in it, and the drawings in there, I don't know, for whatever reason they sort of sometimes a visual style will put its hooks into me,
Hmm.
very much like the early '90s comics did. And the winner of this thing had just these really, really, really cool designs. I don't even know how to explain it. Maybe if I can find a picture of it, I can pop it up in the screen during this episode. But turns out all these years later that it was J. Scott Campbell as a kid who won the contest.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that makes total sense that would have, clicked in
Right.
my head.
Oh, that's really
And
fun.
yeah, and from then on, that was like I always, think back to those designs. I'm sure that again, I'm sure they're not as good now if I look at them as they were when I was a kid. But that's just the
Right.
way things work sometimes. So Attaboy is the character in this game. And you're thinking about how it might have never existed. So you're trying to like draw it. Is that what was going on here?
Yeah, basically the book is in a way the narrator trying to draw what he remembers of the game, like, almost like a guide to it. But of course, the story he starts working through some personal stuff, and it becomes a little bit more than that.
Right.
There's a lot of decoration, but I think it all works with the story. It's not just there to be ornamental. I think it all kind of works together.
Yeah, and there's
Um,
a deeper meaning behind all of this for sure.
yeah.
I'm not going to go all the way to the end because I don't want to give away the whole story for everybody. And I want Mad Cave to, sell a lot of books, so people will be chomping at the bit to go and
That sounds great.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll show the whole story, but I think this time it calls for not doing it. But you get this cool idea with this, kind of the mother. There's a boy, and then you show the face of Attaboy. So he's like almost like a Mega Man kind of character, right? Like a
Yeah.
robot boy,
Yeah.
or like
Yeah, Mega Man,
something
Astro
like that.
Boy. Yeah.
And so you get the father who is the scientist, and the mother of sorts. So it's kind of like a mainframe kind of thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, motherboard.
Yep, motherboard. And it very motherboard's looking pretty dark. And it all sort of comes together, and motherboard comes in and fries the father, right?
Poor Dr. Ada.
Yeah, it's just a skull at this point. And Attaboy's pissed.
And I like to do with color like it's emotive. Like the color turns bright red because he's angry sometimes, or it's blue because they're sad. I love that kind of stuff.
Right, you're using it as a storytelling device, for sure. And then the funny thing is like the really cool way that you do that is the color is swirling about this thing all the time anyway. And
Right.
then you saturate it with red or you saturate it with blue, it's sort of like waves of emotion coming
Right.
in,
Yeah.
and setting the tone. Really well done.
Oh, thanks.
And then I love how you sort of did this, blue and red, just very subtle,
Little
you know,
glitchies. Yeah.
little glitch. Yeah. Was that, did you lay that out, or is that, I know like Procreate and stuff has like a little glitch filter on it that you can use.
That's why I tried. I did that, and I did like I don't know, like 10 attempts, and eventually I found the one I liked. But
Yeah.
it's kind of because I basically like I had messed with that before, and I was like, I bet you it wouldn't work for my other book. But then I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Attaboy, I bet you I could find a place. And I knew I wanted like a black and white image of him. I was like, oh, that'll work on that, and I tried it. I liked it.
What kind of chisel pens do you use?
It's
Because
mostly
I know
just the
that there's
yeah.
like, there's these kind.
Yeah, that's what I use a thicker version of that, the blue one, which is a 6M, so it's a pilot parallel. That's my favorite thing to use. I have a couple other ones. I forget what they're called now, but they're from one of the bigger companies. But basically, it's funny. It's actually chisel tip, but you dip it in ink.
Oh, really? Because there's these
Yeah.
ones too. I know but you don't dip these ones.
No, I haven't tried those yet. The dip one's fun. I saw Ashley Wood use it, and what's good about that one is it's even bigger. And so if I to do
Oh,
like let's say you're doing a 1117, but it's gonna be a face of a character, so I would want something even bigger, and so I've messed with
yeah.
that. But it's even messier than the pilot parallel. Like it's constantly splattering. I wore like a white shirt, and I still have it. It's just covered in black ink. It's great, but but yeah, the pilot parallel is my go-to. I love it. It dries pretty quick.
Really?
The only thing
I
that
think we've
sucks.
had this conversation before, actually,
Oh,
because it's never dried quick for me, and it smears so fast, like a mother.
you've got to be hot, baby. You've got to have the hot hand. And, no, like it's funny. I was gonna say with the pilot parallel, I do know like it's not waterproof, which is the one thing. But I found a
Yeah.
workaround. You can use Rapidograph ink. You can fill it with that, and it
Yes.
has a clog jet. And so I've been messing with that for some real watercolors, and I've been liking the results. It's but the regular ink is good. It flows.
So I talked with Sam Blanchard Schlepsig.
Mm.
He does he uses these almost exclusively for his line art too, and he has an engineering background apparently, and he just opens this up and pours the ink directly into here.
I tried that once, and I think I messed up my pen, but I think that was before I was using a bad ink. I think.
Mm.
I would maybe try with the Rapidograph doing that because it is kind of a pain in the ass to put it into a
See,
little cartridge.
already this is getting all over me. Oh man, this is why I wear gloves when I work.
I mean, my hands are kind of purplish no matter what, so maybe that's part of it.
Yeah. They weren't before you started doing this stuff.
No.
um, really cool,
Oh,
really
thanks.
cool layouts. So how do you think about your layouts? Do you think how do I ask this question? So my layouts are all very, very, very simple. They're very like I was trained to like not get crazy with my layouts. More and more I'm stretching outside of that. As long as the storytelling is clear. And your still like storytelling is clear. Jesse Lonergan's storytelling is clear, even though it's very,
Creative and
graphic,
yeah.
I would say. Like graphic design as opposed to just a simple layout. You don't you kind of do that per page as a storytelling device in itself. Is that would you say that?
Yeah, especially in this project. This one, I before this, I did Serious Creatures 1 through 6, and
Mm-hmm.
there's some creative layouts there, but that's a literary kind of work, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
talking, and I was like, okay, I'm done with dialogue balloons. I want to do a lot of visual stuff, like visual storytelling
Mm-hmm.
as much as I can. And so with Attaboy, I was like, okay, so now that there's no word balloons to worry about, what can I do with a page? How creative can I be and still make it readable? Like that's the big thing. And so like pages like this is like, oh, I mean, you can clearly follow the zigzag of the character. And then I was like, oh, it'd be kind of cool if like the panels, there's no holding line, they're just big color shapes. It's like, oh, that's kind of neat. And there's a lot of opportunities like that. And of course the video game manual too kind of lent itself to making some different looking pages. But I don't know, I'm constantly kind of always figuring out how I do layouts, because sometimes I'll be doing a page and I'm like, oh, this looks fairly basic. And then I'll go, well, I think it works, so I don't need to do anything crazy. And other times I'm like, well, this is pretty nuts. I don't know if this is the best idea, but I'll try it. It's I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm always constantly kind of struggling with like, is it because like I've embraced like I'm fine with showing off. Like I actually like when
Mm-hmm.
I like an artist showing off, as long it's like basically you gotta risk it. Like as long as I'm into what you're doing, showing off is great. Like indulge. If I have the same indulgences, we're gonna have a great time. But if we don't, then I guess we're gonna part ways. But that's kind of a risk you gotta take. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of learned something when I was working on Lost Angels, because I was telling it pretty straightforward, and then about halfway through I started to, get a little bit creative with the way that I was laying pages out. And I learned real fast that if it isn't if you're not going to do that across the board, or if
Mm,
it's not going to be for a very good reason, don't get cute with it,
right.
because it was straightforward, and then all of a sudden it was, like a panel that went diagonally, and it didn't make any sense for the storytelling,
Right.
and it wasn't clear. It was a mistake. But I think if you plan your book ahead of time, and you can tell either a straightforward story, or you can think of creative ways to tell the story on each page. Both are valid, both are, and as long as it's clear, it's really cool. And I'm playing a lot more with personally, I'm playing a lot more with unique layouts. So it's really cool to see stuff like this,
Oh,
man. I
nice.
really, I really like this.
Nice.
Again, it's super clear too, is the thing.
But I think you nailed it. Like if you can set the tone early on and tell the reader, "Hey, this is this kind of book. It's gonna be a little weird or a little different or whatever." This so it isn't like, well, in the middle of this thing, I don't know what happened.
Yeah,
This 2-page thing is a direct lift from Kirby's Captain Victory. There's this great 2-page spread of these insect creatures, and I love their posing. So it's basically my version of that with my own little Mechazoid creatures, guys.
I love it. And these creatures are such a cool design too.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, they're Kirby-esque too, but
Oh yeah.
also very Tony McMillan.
I mean, I invented the triangle. It's just
You
one of those.
invented the triangle. Yep.
Yeah, I don't want to brag. Yeah,
No, I love it. I love that it is
me and Bill Finger.
that it's such a, yeah, right. I love that it's such a prominent thing throughout the whole thing, throughout the whole story. Yeah, look at this. I mean,
Yeah, this is like when Tarantino's like, "Oh, they know about the foot thing. Okay, so the first shot is gonna be somebody's feet. Like that, we're just gonna do it. This is
yep.
me. This is like triangle, triangle, triangle.
Really cool. And then you get into this like sort of page of like in the manuals, there is always this page of like the bad guys.
Right, and I
You
was really
know?
looking forward to this, and what's funny,
Yeah.
this is a lift off Jesse Lonergan, his, Hedra grid. I was, like, looking at the grid, I was like, "Okay, cool," and then I was like, "I need to do a two-page spread of all my villains," and I was like, "Okay, his grid, there's enough boxes, and it looks great on 2 pages. I'm gonna do it." And so I thank Jesse in the book, but I was like, "This is a lift from Hedra right here, these 2 pages."
Yeah. It's on record now. It's official. Can't take
Sue
it
me.
back.
What are you gonna do, Jesse? What are you gonna do?
I don't know. I'm gonna have Jesse on the show and see what he thinks about this.
Yeah, you don't have to do that, it's fine.
Well, I will try to get him on the show,
Okay.
but we won't talk about that. So there's this mysterious version of Attaboy, like a dark Attaboy looking. Is he friend, foe? Neither. We don't really know. I mean, they do get into it. They get into a fight. Things are revealed about him.
He was like
Yeah.
my favorite guy to draw, Scrapper. He's like the Racer X of this world, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's just fun. I love the one eye. It's
Hmm.
a trope, but it's one of my favorite tropes. Like, yeah, have the dark version, the one who's been around, you know.
Yeah. This is cool. You did some color holding here to
Yeah,
sort of change the mood a little bit as he's
yeah,
getting his ass beat.
yeah. It was a weird thing, but I was like, I like this. I don't know, this kind of works for that. Maybe he's like so hurt, it kind of makes the scene look different or something. I don't know, but
Yeah, it's almost like, he's like fading out,
right.
like lights out. It really works well.
Oh, thanks.
And then,
Yep, there's my boy.
I'm kind of getting deep in here. Tell me when to stop.
I mean, I don't mind it. Like, but yeah, this is like a fun page, 2-page spread to draw. I love drawing big double page spreads, you know, like taping the back of the paper together and just going for it. I'm working on
Yeah.
one right now. It's always kind of fun to let loose a little bit.
How big do you work?
11 by 17. I haven't tried anything bigger yet. Have you?
I'm about to start drawing Three-Headed Pigman, my new book. And it's going to be on 19 by 24 paper.
Ooh, okay, cool.
That is like Paul Pope size.
Yeah.
And the reason that I'm going to do that is because I'm not trying to imitate Paul Pope at all. He just gave me the idea that having it that size allows me to use my whole arm as opposed to just using my wrist and letting the brush almost speak more than it has the chance to with just my wrist, because there's like, again, it's like I always say, there's a conversation. It's trying to say something. I need to let the brush talk and do what it's going to do.
I mean,
So
Paul
that's why
Pope
I'm going to go that big.
he's a master of the brush. I would totally listen. Are most his works done in that size, like Escapo and all this older stuff?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So you are pulling in some Kirby influence with this guy for sure.
Yeah, the big Cookie Monster
He's got
robot.
almost like almost Orion ears, and then like I don't know, like any Kirby monster has these like busted up teeth.
I love
I just love it.
I think Tom Scioli said that their teeth look like a mouth guard, like when you're boxing or something like that, like or playing football. Like they don't look.
Yeah.
I love that. Like that's I even like normal characters, they're really angry, like a superhero in a fight. I love to draw it real quick as like a jaggedy kind of this line. It's all the teeth. This represents that. I just think it looks neat.
Yeah, you could sit and draw each individual tooth, or you can go with this minimalistic thing where it's like whited and saturated out, and that's what I always thought about it as. I never really thought about it as like one tooth because
Right.
he does this sort of castling of it, but it's an interesting way to put it. I mean, I love this page.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy. And this stuff, so there's a couple pages like this where actually this is drawn in Procreate. It's done with there's a halftone brush, and so I'm just layering
Mhm.
these halftone digital like things, dots on top of each other, to make these weird textured kind of architecture.
Yeah, and it's almost because it's kind of blobby, you know, it's not like the shapes are almost blobby and not so geometric as in would be in a game. It's almost as if you're squinting and looking at it, you
Oh,
know?
I kind of like
And
that.
I
Yeah.
really like that. Very Yellow Submarine-y too. Like I totally
Oh,
can picture like
I could see that. The art design of that movie is amazing. Like, there's so many weird characters. I have a children's book version of it, and you can really linger on some of the designs, and they're great.
Mhm.
Just so many weird.
Um, I used to teach preschool, and one of the kids' fathers was Rufus Sewell, the actor. I don't know if you know who that is. He was in
Hmm.
like Man in the High Castle and like Dark City, I think he was in.
Oh, sweet.
Um,
I've seen Dark City.
he's got very like chiseled cheekbones and like strong features. British actor. Anyway, his dad worked on Yellow Submarine. He was telling me.
Oh, great.
I thought that was really cool. I was like, wow, you know, a lot of people would be like really excited to meet you, Rufus. Want to meet your dad. You know?
What did his dad do?
I think he did like boarding for it or
Hmm,
something. I'm not
cool.
exactly sure. I'd have to dig too deep in my brain right now, and thered be this weird silence on here to remember that conversation. Oh, look at that guy!
Yeah, he's really
Look at him!
fun. And
Look at
that's
him!
that's a little bit of my Jeffrey Allen love in there, I think, too. Like, I love
Totally.
the horns and a really weird, cool silhouette. Yeah, is a nice excuse to draw my version of robots, which are kind of more organic-y looking, and they look like they'd probably fall down the staircase like really quickly.
Mm-hmm. I love this drill hand. There were these toys. I don't know if you remember them, and I don't remember what they were called, but they were small, like snap together mechs, and they just had like a little like metallic looking man that went into like the head, and then sat in these seats. And there were ones that had like a blade in its chest, and they were wind up, and it would go like back and forth, or like a drill, and or like a saw blade, or like a jackhammer coming out of its chest. And one of them had like a drill. Maybe the drill was coming out of its chest, but um, I remember those so clearly as a kid. I have no idea what they were called,
Is
but
that the one with the
it
guy?
reminds me of it.
One of the bad guys is like a dinosaur with his ribs exposed. There's some like it was like not Hanna
I
Barbera,
don't
but it was
think
some crazy.
so.
I don't know.
No, I don't know. Somebody watching, hopefully in the comments, will
They're
say what it's
screaming at
called.
us right now, like, "Oh my
Yeah,
god!"
they're like, it's called this, you idiot. So stupid. Wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's why a lot of readers are like, "I'm done with this book now." At this point,
Oh man. Yeah, the visuals in this thing are just bananas. You've got so much going on, but it's so clear when you're, when you're in it.
well, the thing is too, like when I made the book initially, the first printing was treasury sized, and I knew it was gonna be big, and so I was like, "Oh, I want to. If it's gonna be big, let's make everything as much as we can big already, so this looks enormous. I want it to be like as widescreen as possible. So there's a lot of splash pages and just giant images, and I think the book works, just fine in normal size, but like the big size, it's crazy. A lot of color.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. We're getting into the climax here. So I
Okay.
think it might be a good time to stop on that. Um but yeah, really, really, really awesome book.
Thank you, man.
I highly, highly recommend it to people, especially of a certain age. you know, I mean, it's kind of what all that comics readers are these days, is people of a certain age. But for
Yeah.
sure, go and snag it. And if you like, um, horror and behind the scenes of horror movies, um, people like Rick Baker and things like that. Also, I really recommend you check out Serious Creatures. Really cool book, dude.
Thanks a lot. I really
How
appreciate
did
it.
how did this pop into your head to make?
I always loved reading Fangoria and seeing, like, the guys who
Yeah,
made the effects were, like, 8 years older than me, and they, like, look like they, like, liked Megadeth and look like awesome dudes. And I was like, "Who are those guys?" And then I realized, Rob Bottin, who did the effects for The Thing, he was, 20 or 21 when he did The Thing, and
yeah,
he was, I think 19 or 20 when he did The Howling. I was like, "Oh my god, he's that young," and he was 14 on the set of Star Wars. And I was like, "This guy's life sounds insane." And so I
yeah.
was like, "I wanna use that as the basis for the career of my character," and it just kind of started unraveling for there. And there's a lot of autobio stuff in there injected, but it's based on the career of Rob Bottin, who's like a 14-year-old kid working in Hollywood in the late 70s and early 80s. Pretty nuts.
It's really cool.
Nice.
I got to do a Creep Show issue 0 with Greg Nicotero. He
Yeah,
wrote my story. That was a crazy book to get out, but there was only like 1,000 of them made, and they released it at Comic-Con, and so we got to do a signing together. And it was really cool to listen to the stories that he had, and just telling people that were coming by and saying, "Hey." That's the signing where I learned that my signature takes way too long because it's very staccato. It's like all single dashes
right.
that put it together. Well, Greg's was like this next, and I'd be like, and there's this like a line a mile long.
Of course. I mean, first, I'm very envious. That'd be awesome to meet Greg and actually work with him. But I forget to sign all my stuff. I have
Yeah,
to be reminded. I don't sign any of my art covers. I just kind of forget.
yeah. Greg's really cool. I went to the premiere of Creep Show too, because I also worked on the first season of the show and did like some of the transitions from like the comic page to live action. I drew a lot of the comic pages for
That's
that,
awesome.
and kind of hung out with him there. And of course, everybody wanted to talk to him at the bar afterwards, and he was just kind of like, "I want to hang out with you and your wife. I don't want to deal with all this." So he just kind of came and sat with us for a while. It was really awesome.
I would have been
Um,
the most annoying guy in the world. I asked him a million questions. He would be like, "That's great. I'll see
yeah,
you."
yeah, I was very chill. I didn't ask a million questions. I think that's why he wanted to come and hang out, because I wasn't, you know,
You know exactly.
trying to
I
get
would.
something out of him. you know. Um, and Lumen. Now, I have to admit, I don't have Lumen. So
Lumen.
what is
Yeah,
Lumen about?
Lumen was my first comic. So basically, it's about a world of endless night. And it's called Noctera. And I did this before Scott Snyder's series. We're gonna have to probably legally get through that. I don't know. But
Probably.
anyways, um, basically it's about a hero with a lantern fighting these mushroom monsters in this weird night world. And I'm currently working on the sequel, which is I'm viewing it as like the Road Warrior to the Mad Max One. Like it's a
Dude.
sequel, but it's fine if it's the first Lumen book you ever read. It's gonna be this is gonna be like kind of a sequel remakey sort of thing. It's called Destroying Angel Lumen. And
Uh,
yeah, I think it's gonna be nuts. But I'm like 13 pages into it now, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is like pretty nuts. This is
I saw
a
you
lot of
posting some sneak peeks.
yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm sold. I mean, I'm definitely gonna grab the first one, and then
Thanks,
the
man.
second one when it comes out, man. I'm a big fan of your work. So
I appreciate that. Feel the same.
um so thanks, dude. Oh, and your prose books.
Yep, I got a bunch of those too. This is the Bleeding Tree trilogy. It's three novels I dropped 3 years ago, but they're really good. They're sort of like a folk rock apocalypse. I describe it as Mark Twain's Dune. It's like yeah, the main characters kind of like Bob Dylan, but they're fighting a genetically engineered messiah who's taken over the world, and it's really weird, but it's pretty fun.
All right, sold on that too. And Attaboy is going to be coming out through Mad Cave. What month did you say?
May, I believe, May 15th or 5th, or some fives involved.
May with a 5 in it, and 2024.
Right.
Because you never know, it could be 2027 that somebody's watching this episode. It's
Very
already
true.
out, man. Go get it. What are you waiting for? Turn this shit off.
Please buy it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming in, man. Thanks for popping in. And at the time of this recording, we are about to go to Indie Creator Comic Con. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in person there. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, we'll talk to you later.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you got it, dude. Later.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my Patreon, where at the $3 level, I'll send you my sketchbook, The Sketch of the Masters. And at the $5 level, I'll send you the sketchbook plus my mini stories, not Man nor Beast, but Moss, Stench of the Sea, and The Voyeur. At the $8 level, after a year, you'll get a commission. Don't forget to sign up for my newsletter in the show notes. Check out my store, where I have lots of original art. And you can also buy books like Lost Angels, a sci-fi YA adventure about a girl who has to solve a mystery in a crashed alien city. Spectral, a showcase of fear, is about a sinister puppet master who travels from town to town telling tales to children who may never sleep again. You can request a commission at any time just by contacting me. Here is a list of the upcoming conventions that I'll be at the time that this video was released. And don't forget to like, leave a comment, and subscribe to the video. Again, thanks for watching.